Hello, everyone. My name is Kelly, and I'm the Young Athletes Coordinator for Special Olympics Arizona. And then Peyton.
Hi, everyone. Very glad to be here with you guys. And thank you for having us. My name is Peyton. I work with the Unified Champion Schools team across the state of Arizona for Special Olympics Arizona.
And then I'm Gianna. I'm the Director of Health and Education at Special Olympics Arizona. Again, thank you for having us today. We're going to start by just kind of going over a broad, big picture overview of what we do at Special Olympics, and then more specifically our Young Athletes program. And then we'll end with the specific program that we're here to talk about today, Indigenizing our Young Athletes program. So for those that do not know, the mission of Special Olympics is to provide year-round sports training and athletic competition in a variety of Olympic-type sports for children and adults with intellectual disabilities. So we will go over this, but we do serve the entire lifespan. This gives them continuing opportunities to develop their physical fitness, demonstrate courage, experience joy, and participate in a sharing of gifts, skills, and friendship with their families, other Special Olympics athletes, and the community. Throughout this presentation, you may hear us say the word athletes and also partners. Athletes is the term that we use for an individual with an intellectual and developmental disability, and partners are those without intellectual and developmental disabilities. Again, we serve both individuals. And then Special Olympics is the world's largest sports organization for people with intellectual disabilities. It was founded in 1968. And more than 4.7 million athletes participate in the program in over 160 countries. And then we do rely very heavily on volunteers to be able to run our programming. So worldwide, we work with over 1 million volunteers. And then just to ensure everyone understands what an intellectual disability is, this is a term used when a person has certain limitations in cognitive functioning and skills, including communication, social, and self-care skills. According to the American Association of Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities, an individual has an intellectual disability if they meet the following criteria. So meaning there are significant limitations in 2 or more adaptive areas. The condition manifests itself before the age of 18, and the IQ is below 70 to 75. Specific to Special Olympics Arizona, all of this information is from our 2023 impact report. We split up the state into 6 different areas. So we do serve the entire state of Arizona. They will have local area competitions in each of the 6 areas, and then athletes and partners will have a chance to participate in state competitions with other athletes from across the state. Those are all held here in the Valley, so typically in Glendale area, Peoria, etc. But we will have athletes from across the state come to compete in those competitions. We offer 22 sports. This ranges from basketball, volleyball, flag football. We have some snow-specific sports up in our mountain area, so snowshoeing, and over 200 competitions throughout the year. And again, relying very heavily on our volunteers. We have over 24,000 that come out and help in any given year. A lot of those being our coaches, which is over 1,000 coaches. And then we, in 2023, had over 16,000 athletes and unified partners, so participants with and without intellectual and developmental disabilities. And then 93% of every dollar goes directly back to our programs. Most people think of sports when they hear Special Olympics, which is true, and the fact that Special Olympics was founded as a sports organization, and its sports are still at the foundation and the core of our organization, but we do so much more than just sports. So we are the largest sports organization for people with disabilities, but we're also the largest public health organization for people with IDD. We have a pretty robust health program where we offer free health screenings alongside some of our competitions, health education in the school setting, and also in community groups and group homes. We also have athlete leadership, which is an opportunity for our athletes to develop leadership skills both inside the organization and outside. Unified Champion Schools, where we bring Unified into the school setting, ensuring that students with and without disabilities have opportunities to learn together, work together, play together. Young Athletes, which is what we'll talk about further today in this presentation, and then esports for our athletes who may not be as interested in the physical sports, but still want that sense of community. This is a great option for them. And like I mentioned before, we do serve the lifespan. So individuals as young as 2 years old can participate in our Young Athletes program. Then as they transition into more of the school-based setting, they can participate in youth unified sports, high school sports, college, if that's the path that they go down, and then community-based unified sports as well. So no age limit. Now I will turn it over to Peyton to talk about young athletes.
Awesome. So for our Young Athletes program, it does fall under the umbrella of Unified Champion Schools and Health, and it is primarily for the ages of 2 to 7. This in the Young Athletes program, they will be learning those basic sports skills such as running, kicking, and throwing, but also catching the ball. It can be done in a variety of settings with families, with classmates, teachers, caregivers, people from the community, and it gives them a chance to share in that joy in sports with all children. And this can be what we call that unified program. So those with intellectual disabilities, athletes, participating with partners, children without intellectual disabilities. And this is a quick overview video.
When I play, I can do amazing things. I can run, I can jump, and I'm still learning to do more.
Special Olympics Young Athletes helped young children around the world discover their abilities and develop their strengths through the power of sport and play. Young Athletes introduces basic sports skills like kicking and throwing through fun activities to children with and without intellectual disabilities, ages 2 to 7. Children of all ability levels participate, and they all benefit. They develop important motor skills, grow stronger, build confidence at every milestone, and learn to interact and communicate with others. Families share in the fun and learn to support their child's development. And everyone learns acceptance and friendship. With activities in more than 125 countries, Young Athletes reaches children around the world, giving families, communities, and schools the tools to create inclusive environments and help children of all abilities unlock their potential and envision brighter hopes for the future.
I love to play. It makes me happy to play with friends, and it helps me be the best I can be. So come on, let's play together.
And for some of the goals of Young Athletes is to support that social inclusion in communities, homes, and schools, and letting children with and without intellectual disabilities play together as a form of understanding, especially at that younger moldable age. And it provides them with activities and games that can meet their skill and ability set. Some of the skills that they would be working on covering the motor, social, and cognitive skills, such as walking and running, balancing and jumping, those sport specific of throwing, striking, and kicking, and then as they're advancing, those advanced sports skills. And for the stages of motor learning, there are activities that fall within the cognitive stage, kind of where the child does determine the goal of that skill, relying on observational and visual. In the associative stage, the child translates from what to do versus how to do, and practicing on that body awareness to refine those movements. And then the autonomous stage, ability to perform the skill in a multitude of environments with coordinated movements and goal achievements. Okay. And I'll pass it on to Kelly for the teacher and coaches.
Yeah, so we do train our coaches to help with the children ages 2 to 7. So before each session, our coaches will be trained to build your young athlete session plan. They'll warm up and cool down, gather the necessary equipment, prepare to adapt equipment according to the needs of the activity and or child. We do provide the equipment so they can accomplish these goals, and then communicate session information, location, time with parents, recruit, and train volunteers. During each session, the coach's responsibility will be to allow the young athletes to take on leadership roles throughout the session, leading the songs, and then make modifications to activities or equipment based upon the abilities of each participant. Making modifications, so each child will need their own modification. So as a coach, you will need to make modifications to activities and equipment to meet the ability levels of the athletes. Modifications are essential to ensure that every young athlete can be successful. We want to make modifications and celebrate their own achievements in different ways. So not all young athletes will learn, understand, and perform at the same speed and level. So it is important to get to know every children individually. Teacher coach responsibility. After each session, you want to make announcements for the future. Make note of the skills that were challenging and should be worked on again in the next session, and then provide resources and information to encourage family members to continue the activities with their child at home. This is the activity guide that we give the coaches so they can follow along. The curriculum is an 8-skill area, scripted lesson plans to use over an 8-week period, 3 days of lesson plans for each week for a total of 24 days, and then lessons are designed to be offered in sequence. The young athlete structure. So the program length is a minimum of 8 weeks, followed by optional culminating celebration event. Year-round programming is preferred. The duration is 30 to 45 minutes each session, and you can do it 2 to 3 times per week. Space, so young athletes can be implemented in any space that you have available. An open area outside, a gymnasium, or a room with minimal furniture would be ideal. So this is just a little key component of each session. So warm-ups could be 5 minutes and just a song like Wheels on the Bus, Follow the Leader. Then you're going to go 10 to 15 minutes into skill development stations. So sidestepping, run and carry, and then sticky arms. Group activities, 10 to 15 minutes, fire drill, and then cool down song, closing song, 5 minutes. Section 3 is young athletes activities. So this is the equipment that we provide the coaches so they can do the young athletes program. The balance beam, foam ball, bean bags, sport cones, it all comes in the equipment kit that we provide the coaches. So selecting activities, Peyton talked about this, and the foundational skills, walking and running, balance and jumping, all of this to advance sports skills. There are 8 skill areas in the activity guide. Each skill area includes activities that can be done with one child or a group of children. Within each skill area, activities are listed by ease and difficulty. The activities are in order of normal development, from basic skills to more complex skills. So this is just implementing the activities. Instruction for implementing every activity can be found in the activity guide. If additional clarification is needed, video clips demonstrating most activities can be found on our website. Section 4 is young athletes in schools. So Unified Champion Schools is a strategy to activate youth, engage educators, and promote school communities of acceptance and inclusion where all young people are agents of change. The objectives are to create schools of acceptance, promote positive attitudes and behaviors, increase participation in schools-based school-based unified sports, increase youth involvement at the school, local, and state level, and then promote social inclusion for individuals with and without intellectual disabilities. So identifying support is really important for young athletes. Older primary school children can support young athletes by demonstrating skills and helping younger children complete the activities. Secondary school students can serve as volunteers. Volunteers are great to run individual stations or support children as they move from one activity to the next. University students can also volunteer as coaches and can even take leadership in creating lesson plans. And then athlete leaders and youth leaders can serve as assistant coaches and volunteers. Engaging family members. So families can be involved with young athletes in every school. Initial meetings, schools are encouraged to host an introduction for parents at the start of the school year so they can learn about young athletes. Weekly newsletters and emails to connect the parents weekly to share the progress and activities. At-home activities to share the activity guide with families. This allows families to participate with activities at home, and then volunteers invite family members to participate as volunteers. Incorporating leadership. Young athletes can also create inclusion, acceptance, and respect in classrooms and schools. So consider adding to sessions by allowing the children to lead and learn. You can identify leadership roles for the children, allow children to help lead the activities, and facilitate conversation in the classroom. Okay, so now I want to talk about indigenizing young athletes. And before I start, I just want to say we acknowledge and honor the Indigenous people who have stewarded this land for generations. We recognize their enduring connection to this territory and express our gratitude for their contributions to our community. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and commit to building respectful relationships with Indigenous people based on understanding, equality, and justice. This program embodies a collaborative endeavor between Special Olympics young athletes and the Native American, Indian, and Alaskan Native Head Start Collaboration Office, marking a pivotal step of indigenizing young athletes. We express profound appreciation to the American Indian, Alaska Native Head Start pilot programs at Cook Inlet Native Head Start, Leech Lake Band of Ojibwe Head Start, and the Nisqually Tribe Head Start for their visionary leadership in guiding and enriching Indigenous early education practices within tribal nations across the United States. So what is indigenizing? Indigenizing refers to the process of incorporating Indigenous perspectives, knowledge, practices, and values into various aspects of society, such as education, governance, culture, and the economy. This may involve recognizing and respecting Indigenous worldviews, histories, languages, and traditions, and working to address the systematic inequalities and injustices faced by Indigenous peoples. Indigenizing efforts often aim to promote cultural revitalization and self-determination for Indigenous communities while promoting cross-cultural understanding and collaboration. Who started the program? So Mike Richardson, who is the director of the National American Indian Alaskan Native Head Start Collaboration. Jennifer Hansen, the senior manager of the Special Olympics Young Athletes Program. Dr. Cassie Lopez, who is the early childhood consultant. Jolene Pettigrew, who is the curriculum coordinator for Cook Inlet Native Head Start. Dr. Patricia Broker, who is the senior manager for the Leech Lake Band of Ojibwe Head Start. Mona Gomez Cabrera, who is the Family Services Supervisor for the Nisqually Tribe Head Start, and then Dr. Dan Ninham, who is Director of the Northern Indigenous Games. This is a pilot program we are trying to implement into Arizona. And then the video.
People gather indoors to sing, dance, and play games. The rules of this laughing game are simple. Opponents laugh while the feather is airborne. When the feather touches the ground, laughter stops and the stare down begins. Laugh out of order or smile during the stare down and you are eliminated.
Introduction. So this is another example. So Pat Broker is the program administrator. Yodi Blomgren, who is the language-focused classroom instructor, champion teacher of Indigenous games. And then Michael Smith Jr., who is the Ojibwe language and culture coordinator. And then this is their program.
Buju buju anin, buju buju anin, buju buju buju.
Today we were gifted a grant by the Special Olympics Young Athletes, and what we're doing is we're doing the Indigenous Games, which is culturally focused games designed to teach kids traditional values, traditional stories, and also get them involved in that physical exercise and have a great time. The motto that we're going with for this whole campaign is Mamajia Mashkiki 1, which is movement is medicine. And that's one of the things that we're trying to do because there is an epidemic of diabetes and childhood obesity on the reservation. So one of the things we want to do to help curb that is, bringing in more physical exercise in different ways, also making it culturally relevant. And so for us, our kids love to run. They have a lot of energy, and we don't want to try and corral that or box it. We want to find constructive ways to do that, for them to use that. There's certain words for like throwing, kicking, running, different parts. One of the words we practiced was basakawadan, which means to kick it. Bikwakwan, which is a ball. We had a bunch of other ones like ashkatum, which is to jump. So the culturally specific games and the language focus helps them direct that energy that they have, and they can put that into something really wonderful, having fun, learning the language, and also learning cultural stories too. Each of the games has a story that's read before each one of them.
Our kids learn through play, and they learn through games, they learn through activities. I think it's important for everybody to be moving their bodies, much as their physical abilities let them. Special Olympics and our Head Start programs have worked together to create games that are appropriate for the ages of the children that we serve. So preschool kids are learning Indigenous activities that Ojibwe people may have done in the past. We are incorporating as much as possible our own Ojibwe culture into our physical activities, just as we do in our classroom. Every opportunity that we have with our kids where we should be exposing them to our language and our culture, as much as we can give to our children at this age, they're going to carry on as they go into the elementary schools and into their adult life.
The Indigenous Game Day for us was a time to come together as a program. We were able to expand on the language, interact with one another. It was a big physical, social, emotional, cognitive event. For the games that we've done, we did a lot of coordination as well as teamwork. So that physical aspect, and then incorporating the language to hand it to the person next to you, hand it to someone, catch that large motor, fine motor skills. As a classroom, when we were preparing for Indigenous Games, we met with our Ojibwe mentor to build off of the phrases that were already incorporated in the Indigenous Games. So we wanted to be more specific, whether it was singular, plural. And one phrase that we worked on was Dibishkub Makwang Asia Bimi Batun, which was run like a bear for one person. Dibishku Makwang Asia Bimi Batug was for multiple. And those were phrases that the children were hearing throughout the games. Bikwakwad, ball, and encouraging students to use the language with each other, for themselves. Just a lot of great phrases, Ojibwe phrases that the students were exposed to, and then as well as teaching staff we were working on as well. The language is important. It's for cultural identity. It's who we are. We're working hard on bringing Ojibwe language back into our personal lives, our work lives, our community, and the classroom. Game Day is really not only just for the program, it's for the families, it's for the whole community. We're able to be engaged in culture, language, it's healthy activities, movement, and it's just a great day for everyone.
Okay, and then the round one pilot accomplishments is also on that. Who can use this program? So this program can be implemented in a community program at a Head Start, preschool, or elementary level. This is for ages 2 to 7 with and without intellectual disabilities. For this program, you will use the same equipment that we give to our young athletes, coaches. And the lessons are 6 lessons and should be completed before introducing and playing the traditional games. This allows children to build their skills through young athletes' activities. Lesson activities do not have to be done during one setting. They can be split up throughout the day in a way that best fits the daily schedule. So for the schools, the timing should be around 15 to 30 minutes. If they can get a full lesson done, maybe once per week, but if not, 3 times is best. And then for community programs, 45 minutes to an hour for the lesson and 1 time per week. And then this is an example in the activity book. It's trapping and catching. It's an optional activity, but it's a bubble catch, and you ask the children to stand in a circle. From the middle of the circle, blow bubbles to the children and have them catch the bubbles with 1 or 2 hands. And then this is another one. It's a ball tap. Tap a ball in the air towards the children and have them tap the ball back towards you or towards each other with an open hand. Count the number of taps before the ball hits the floor, and then it shows the equipment needed as well. And any questions? And we also have at the end of this is our young athletes educator coach registration. So if you want to know any more information about this program, you can scan this and it will go directly towards us and we can answer further questions as well outside of this meeting.
I will also put all of our emails in the chat. So whether you yourself are interested in implementing the program, or maybe you know someone in the community that might be interested, please reach out to us and we'd love to chat with them, whether about our Young Athletes program or the Indigenous Young Athletes pilot.
Thank you for that, Gianna. So this is really great. I like seeing the videos that you've embedded in your presentations. So this is Agnes. I do have a question for you. So how many Indigenous communities have you piloted the program with so far?
So we are working on right now starting the program. This is a very new program we just received. So we are looking at starting our first one.
I think just to piggyback off of that, I think it's been implemented in other parts of the nation, Michigan and Minnesota, but for Arizona, we haven't yet, but other states have.
And again, this is a pilot through Special Olympics North America. So like Kelly mentioned, this is the first time that we've received funding to help support the pilot. So our funding actually just began beginning of this month. So really starting it off and seeing, hopefully getting into the communities. Again, if any of you have any recommendations or connections, people that we could reach out to, it's much appreciated because it is very new for us.
Thank you for that. So folks that are joining us in the webinar, if you have any questions, please let us know. You can also put it in the chat. Actually, there is a question in the chat. So where are you in the pilot, and could you walk us through the pilot timeline?
So we're in very early stages of the pilot program right now. I have all of the information to start the program. We are just looking right now for someone in the Native community that we could work with to start the program.
And some of those specific action items too, and Kelly, feel free to correct me or jump in, but a formal training on the curriculum will take place. So this is kind of just a really big picture, broader overview, but anyone who would actually be facilitating the material would go through a more standardized training on the program. And then we provide all of the equipment and supplies needed to actually implement the program. And some of those timelines for suggested, 1 to 3 times per week, and then following up and just kind of keeping us in the loop with how the program's going. But we're always there along the way to support, answer any questions that come up. The grants that we have goes until July 2025, but then there's hopes that this funding would continue into future years as well.
And I would be doing the training with you, so I would be working closely with you throughout the program.
And then I see Pav had a question about athlete leadership. Pav, I know you know all about athlete leadership. So if you have any questions about the current status of that program, you can definitely reach out to me or Saul, and we can help get you reconnected with the group. I'm glad to see that you're on this call. And then Lori said, how can we as community members support you? Kelly, any thoughts on that?
If you have any contacts that you could share with us, I think that is the biggest one. I think my big goal right now is to try and start this program this year if we can. But it's been a little slower start, so we're just trying to find that person that we can connect with and go from there and do the trainings together and work together throughout the program. And it is a pilot program, so there will be ups and downs, but we will work closely with you and whatever is needed.
I think Pab had another question. So what is Health Messenger?
Yeah, so a health messenger is an athlete through Special Olympics who has gone through a specific training on how to advocate for their own health, and then also how to help educate their peers on healthy living and healthy activities. So we have a group of about 15 health messengers throughout the state, some in Tucson area, one being Pav. So our health messengers are awesome and super involved with our health programming. So if you come out to a Special Olympics event, you may see some of them.
So this is Agnes. I do have another question. So in the videos that you've shown, especially with folks in the northern part of the United States, they were using, I think it was Ojibwe language. How is Native Indigenous language incorporated into your curriculum? So if you work with a pilot program, say here in Arizona, how would that process work with an Indigenous community here in Arizona?
So I would work closely with who is being trained as the coach, and we would add in their native culture to the program.
Yeah, and just to kind of add on to that, it's kind of created to fit whatever is best for the culture. So kind of like you said in the videos, they had their own native language and native games that they were using with the equipment. So then the same would be done, like Kelly said in the meeting with Kelly, kind of working on how you can use the equipment to fit into your culture, into your games, into your language, and then kind of combining that.
And then there was a question about reporting requirements for Indigenous communities who may want to implement the program. Is there a specific data that is required? And Kelly, do we know those specifics yet?
I don't know those specifics, but I can get back to you on that.
And just from history of previous pilots, they typically will ask to collect some demographic data. But again, we can circle back with you all and make sure we get those specifics shared. But just in previous programming, that is something that Special Olympics North America is usually looking for, is participant numbers, how many sessions that you actually offered of the programming, and then some demographic data as well.
So there's other additional question from Pab. Why is USA Games part of Special Olympics?
Yeah, Pav, do you mean so USA Games for Special Olympics? Is that what you're asking about? And the one that's gonna, okay. in 2026. Yeah, so we have Special Olympics USA Games that take place every 4 years. So the next one will be in 2026 in Minnesota. So we'll be sending some athletes from Arizona to compete in those competitions. I hope that answers your question, Pav.
There's also another question from Lori. Besides equipment and training, is there any other funding available to support organizations?
Yeah, Peyton, did you want to answer? No. Yeah, we're considering offering a stipend for facilitators. So that's something that we just need to make sure, depending on kind of what the interest is, that we can support. But that's something that we're hoping to be able to offer. So equipment, stipend for the facilitator, and then of course that support throughout the way from our staff if you have any issues or any requests for anything else to help you successfully implement the program.